Hey everyone, welcome to our way too early 2024 LSU college football predictions video. So what we're going to do today is we're going to take a look at every single game on the schedule for the LSU Tigers, seeing which ones we think they're going to win, which ones we think they are going to lose, and we'll be going game by game to look at every single one of them. It's been a crazy offseason so far. We have teams jumping to the ACC. We have teams jumping into the SEC. We have Texas and Oklahoma coming in. And we also have the Big Ten adding 4 teams from the Pac-12 and the Pac-12 getting completely dissolved. LSU is a top 5 roster coming into this season in all of college football. They had a 10-win season last season. They had a god-awful defense last year. I think they finished around 110th in total defense. It was pretty bad, but they have completely changed over their entire defensive coaching staff. They added Blake Baker. He was the coordinator for Missouri. He was previously at Miami prior to that. He's a pretty good defensive coordinator, so he's coming in and he's overhauled everything, especially on the D-line. This is a really talented team. The talent's there. They just need the coaching to get them in the right direction. They have Brian Kelly as the head coach, one of the best head coaches in all of college football. Last season, they left a mark. They had Napiers. They had Jayden Daniels got the Heisman. He's now off. They lost a Heisman-winning quarterback. So anything less than Heisman-level play at the quarterback position is technically a step back this season. It's kind of weird to say, but that's technically true since he just won the Heisman. They have 2 wide receivers going first round. They're off to the NFL. But that doesn't mean that their offensive playmakers aren't there. They still have Daniels, Thomas, Lacey. They have Williams at running back. They have Nussmeier as the quarterback. A lot of people are pretty high on him. I have a lot of question marks on how high he can really lead this team, me personally, but he has shown some flashes, so can Brian Kelly get those flashes to be a little more permanent? That's the big question, because this team will go as far as the quarterback can carry them, especially if the defensive side plays just a little better. They were 110 last season. Can they just get around, 50 to 60 this season? If they can, this talent's going to be pretty deadly. Go ahead, hit that like button and subscribe. We're going to be taking a look at everything college football and everything NFL football this coming year. Up to the season starts, we're going team by team, breaking down the whole schedules, the win, losses for every college football team. And once the season starts for both college and the NFL, we do the best bets every week, every game, who we think is going to win, lose, the spreads, money lines, and the over-under. So hit that like button and subscribe. And let's get things started looking at this LSU schedule. They get things kicked off with an out-of-conference fun game to watch. A Sunday game, September 1st versus USC. This game is in Las Vegas. USC, obviously, they lost the previous Heisman-winning quarterback, Caleb Williams. So both teams breaking in new guys at the quarterback position. But obviously the guy who filled in for Williams had a really good bowl game, lit things up, threw for about 400 yards. They're going to have playmakers. Lincoln Riley calls offense just as good as anyone. He did finally fire the defensive coordinator. They were god-awful. He was god-awful at Oklahoma. So they have a new leader on the defensive side. That's been the main thing holding back the Trojans. Them, just like LSU, basically this game is whose defense is going to rebound and get back to normal sooner. LSU with a new D coordinator or USC with their new D coordinator. Which one's going to do it first? If I had to put money on it, I'd probably say LSU just because Brian Kelly, he's been coaching a while. He knows when something's wrong. It took Lincoln Riley forever to finally fire his D coordinator after years of playing pathetic football. He did it, but it took too long. So USC, they're going to score points, but just how good will the defense be year one? I'm going to go with LSU starting out the season with a strong win here. If USC won, I would not be surprised in any way whatsoever. The offense is going to be there. They're going to score no matter who they're playing. It's just how good is the defense going to be with a first-year defensive coordinator. Obviously, that's a pretty big challenge for them. Give them some time. Riley will get things right, but I don't think it'll be week 1, but it definitely could be. But I have LSU going 1-0 in week 1. Then they follow that up Saturday, September 7th versus Nichols. And the Trojans game, I think, is going to be pretty close. Probably a high-scoring game, like a 37-31 game. So a one-possession shoot-'em-out game. Then Saturday, September 7th, Nichols, Colonels. This is going to be in the Tiger Stadium. First home game of the season. This game's not going to be close at all. They're going to be massive favorites. They're probably going to win this game, probably like a 55 or 60-10 type game. It's going to be a complete blowout, a curb stomping, and they're now 2-0. And also, let's not forget, LSU comes in with 14-1 national championship odds. So a lot of people are actually picking them to, under the radar, get to the national championship game. So there's a lot of hype this season. They follow that up Saturday, September 14th at South Carolina Gamecocks. So South Carolina, Beamer's team is kind of going through a little bit of a rough patch here. They lost Spencer Rattler. Their team completely fell apart last season. The offense wasn't good. Defense was horrendous. They might be a little better this season. They might be a 500-ish team, but they're definitely not going to have the level of talent of LSU. LSU is going to beat them in South Carolina. Probably going to win about a 35-24 game, 21 game, and they'll move to 3-0. They follow that game up Saturday, September 21st. UCLA Bruins, another Big Ten team that they're going to be playing, them and USC. UCLA, they lost Chip Kelly. They lost everyone. Almost the whole team transferred out. New coach, new leaders on all sides of the ball here. This team's, maybe like a 4 or 5 win team. LSU, I think, is going to put them on them. This is a Big Ten versus SEC matchup, so the hype's going to be there. But it's one of the best teams in the SEC versus one of the worst teams in the Big Ten. So it's really not a fair matchup. I have LSU beating the brakes off of UCLA, moving to 4-0, and they're probably going to win it like a 48-17 game. Then they have another cupcake game Saturday, September 28th. The South Alabama Jaguars. This game is in Louisiana. Obviously, there's not much to say here. It's probably going to be like a 50-10 game. It is going to be a blowout. And they're now, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5-0. And then they have a bye week, October 5th. And then a big game. So they have the bye week to prepare for the Ole Miss Rebels, who's obviously, they've been winning the offseason so far this year, completely overhauled the team. A lot of players coming back on the offensive side, and they added a lot of pieces on the defensive side. Defense took a little bit of a step back last season, but they got a lot of players in from the portal. A lot of championship hype from Ole Miss so far this year. And it's Lane Kiffin, so there's going to be a lot of hype there. There's going to be a lot of trash talking. This is going to be billed as a top 10 matchup here. One of the best matchups of the whole season. Both teams are probably undefeated at this point. Who's going to be the favorite? Who is going to have the better stats? This is going to be a fun game. This game could go either way. It's a 50-50 game. Lane Kiffin, Brian Kelly, great matchup. I'm going to go with LSU getting the loss here. Dropping to 5-1. Ole Miss squeaking out with a possession win at the very end. Could be a touchdown. Could be a field goal and winning like a 31-28 game. Really close game. It's anyone's game. LSU can definitely win this game, but I have them losing. I have Ole Miss just being a little more of the more experienced team. A lot of starters coming back this team for this team this season. But it's going to be fun. But the whole season's still in front of LSU. 12 teams get in the playoffs this year. So being 5-1, 1 loss, that means absolutely nothing so far this season. Now we're moving into our second half of the year, Saturday, October 19th, the Arkansas Razorbacks. This is a team, a lot of turnover, coaching turnover. Pittman's still there. They have a lot of question marks at quarterback, because obviously KJ Jefferson left to UCF. They have questions at running back, wide receiver. Defense isn't good. Sometimes they rise up and play teams really competitively, like they usually play Alabama somewhat close sometimes. So they sometimes get physical for games, and then they get blown out. I have LSU wanting to rebound off of that loss versus Ole Miss and make an example out of Arkansas. Getting the win here, probably about a 38-24 game, and moving to 6-1. Still potentially top 10. Then they have Saturday, October 26th, the Texas A&M Aggies. They have a new head coach. They brought over the coach from Duke. They're overhauling this team. This is one of the better rosters in all of football. Jimbo Fisher did not leave this team bare. A lot of guys have transferred out, but even with guys transferring out, you obviously still have a stacked roster. This team is loaded at every single position. They have quarterback, running back, wide receiver. They have defensive talent. It's all there. They have a defensive-minded coach now. It's his first season at A&M coming over from Duke. He's going to get this ship right. First year, I wouldn't say so, but they're definitely going to be better than they were last season. But this is not a team you want to overlook. They want an upset win at some point this year. This is one of those teams that they're gonna get 1 to 2 upset wins this year. People that are taking them for granted because they've been out of the national spotlight for the last couple seasons. Could this be a game that surprises LSU? Definitely. I think it's like a 55 to 45% game. So I think the Aggies can definitely win it. I'm leaning towards LSU. Not because LSU's, I don't think that the Aggies are more talented than LSU. It's just after a couple hard-fought games, LSU might be tired, and the Aggies want to make an example of someone. But I'm going to go with LSU as of right now, moving to 7-1, getting a really close win here. This game's going to surprise people, probably like a 27 to 24 game. One possession win, close, but they squeak out, and they're 7-1. Then they have another bye week, Saturday, November 2nd, and then boom, the Alabama Crimson Tide. Nick Saban's gone. This is going to be another top 10 matchup. Could be a game day game. Saban's gone. Kalen Deboer's in. This guy's like 134-13 his career. He can coach, but he's completely overhauling the way Alabama plays football. He's an air it out type guy. Bama, obviously, a top 3 roster in all of college football, even with the transfers. But you're bringing in a completely different head coach, D coordinator, offensive coordinator, completely different style of play. So how's that going to work with Jalen Milroe at the quarterback position? It will work. It's just, it might not be the same level of a normal Saban team every single season, but it's just because you're having to tweak some things and work things out. Do not underestimate this Crimson Tide team. Kalen Deboer knows how to win big games, but so does Brian Kelly. LSU can usually match talent for talent versus anyone, but I'm going to go with Alabama getting the win here. This game is in LSU. It's a home game for the Tigers. LSU can definitely win it. Brian Kelly's not afraid of Alabama. He's beaten Saban before, technically, and he knows that he can beat Kalen Deboer. But these coaches are pretty even. Really good coaches on both teams. But I think Alabama's going to have a couple more starters there. They have Jalen Milroe, who I personally think is just better than Nussmeier at this point from what I've personally seen. So I'm going to go with Alabama getting the win, but a close game and a high-scoring game. I'm going to say it's probably going to be like a 34-30 game. Could potentially even be higher. But Alabama gets the win, and LSU's now 7-2. Still a really strong season. Still could potentially make the playoffs, and still in the running, possibly for the SEC. After that, Saturday, November 16th, we have the Florida Gators. This game is going to be in Gainesville. Billy Napier. That's a tough one. He didn't make a bowl game last season. They had probably the most difficult football schedule in all of college football last season. I think they have the most difficult schedule this season also. Mertz is definitely playing a lot better at the quarterback position than he was when he was at Wisconsin. But Florida has a lot of question marks. They're going to have a tough schedule. They're going to be getting beat up every week. Every week's a gauntlet for them. I have LSU getting the win on the road, rebounding from that Alabama game. Brian Kelly's too good. He's not going to have back-to-back losses. That's not going to happen. He's going to see what didn't work the prior week, and he's going to look to get that right. Look for LSU to get the win here versus the Florida Gators to move to 8-2. But the Gators are pretty competitive. They had a lot of one-possession losses last season that could potentially happen here. Probably like a 30-23 type win. Then they have Saturday, November 23rd, the Vanderbilt Commodores. LSU better not lose this game. Vanderbilt, nothing against them. They're not a football school. They have a pretty decent baseball program. They have had some pretty good seasons in the past, especially under James Franklin. It's been a while, though. There's a massive talent here. A massive talent gap. Look for LSU to get the win versus Vanderbilt at home. Probably, like a 40-17 type game, and they're now 9-2. And then they finish the season Saturday, November 30th versus the Oklahoma Sooners. This is an interesting game, and I've been flip-flopping on this game back and forth on my Oklahoma video. You can go watch that one. I have Oklahoma winning this game. I think even with them losing Dylan Gabriel at the quarterback position, who's going to be a Heisman frontrunner this year, ESPN has him as the number 2 quarterback in all of college football for the 2024 season. Oklahoma has a very talented roster. I think they have them as the 7th or 8th most talented roster in all football, and LSU's up there in the top 5 as well. So they're very talented. Oklahoma, they're bringing in Jackson Arnold. This is his first year as the starting quarterback now. They have weapons. Brent Venables has been recruiting well. He's been working the portal well. This team's loaded. And they have a pretty good D-line. They have a better defense than LSU based off of last season. Both teams very talented. Anything can happen this season. Now, I picked Oklahoma to win previously. Could LSU win this game? Definitely. It's 50-50. I would not be surprised if it went anyway. But I'm going to go with LSU losing here, going 9-3, finishing the season. But this game is really tough for me because I think it could go either way. This is probably the most 50-50 game of the season that I'm looking at. Because I'm not saying that any team necessarily has an edge over the other team because we haven't seen much starts and playing time out of both quarterbacks. So we're kind of going into this year with a little bit of unknowns. Nussmeier could light things up from the USC game and never look back. And obviously, this game is not going to be competitive. But we're not there yet. We are predicting out, 7-8 months before that game. So I'm going to go with Oklahoma getting the win here. Close win, probably like a 31-28 game. Getting the win, having a strong season themselves. LSU finishing the regular season 9-3. But this is a game they could easily win. Finish 10-2. I think their ceiling is 11-1. They can have a really strong season. Their floor is 8-4. I don't see that happening. So 9-10 wins, that's more likely. That's kind of in the average range right there. And they could make the SEC championship game. If they win the SEC, they have nothing to worry about because they get a bye week and they get into the college football playoff. Even if they don't make the playoffs, they could still get back to 10 wins just like last season because they're going to get a really good bowl game. If they make the playoffs, they could get 11-12 wins. We don't know. This is as talented of a team. The only question I have is the quarterback position. I need to see more from Nussmeier first. But having a really strong season, finishing 9-3. Go ahead, hit that like button and subscribe